on the Wells Show, and my guest tonight, Robert Morningstar, actually listened to this 3 times. He thought it was an important show. Take that, Nick. All right, Robert. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and
Let
happy to be here. I was
Let me
very
just
disappointed to miss you last week.
don't worry. Let's just very quickly. Robert is editor of the Morningstar News.nyc. We'll get to that later. Look, we have to educate my listeners. I spoke to you this afternoon. Believe me, not everyone is as informed as you. What is Luciferism? And you say it's, well, taken over all the major religions. What is it?
Well, in a sentence, it's the worship of intelligence over love. And
Okay, there was a bang there.
I'm in New
Intelligence.
York City, and that's
Uh,
traffic going on outside. You'll have to bear it. Sometimes it's ambulances, other times police, and
oh,
sometimes traffic. But
all right. Intelligence over. Wow, that's.
well, it's appropriate, I'm telling you, because oh, brother. Well, listen, it's appropriate that we have sirens and fire engines coming by because this world is on fire. This world
Yeah, but
is.
not our radio show. All
I'm
right.
sorry, I can't control the
All right,
police.
let's
But,
have a. I got you. Intelligence over love. Do your best. I have no idea what that means.
well, what I'm telling you is that there is a cult on this planet that is pursuing the worship of intelligence to the exclusion of humanity and human feelings. There was a book written a while ago called Something Wicked This Way Comes, and the sound of it is a warning. And that's what I'm sounding to people. There is a warning that I'm giving you that the mass media, the world, is being driven crazy by an alien anti human force that seeks the destruction of mankind.
All right, that's a
That
different
this,
intelligence than what we were expecting. There is a
well, it's a
plus
living
side to it.
intelligence. It's a living intelligence. It's not IQ. It is something that the media has jumped on a Luciferic binge promoting movies and current television program glamorizing Lucifer. And this is a warning to all who are listening. Lucifer hates humanity, has been
Uh,
there since the beginning of time, trying to thwart mankind's advancement and reunion with God. And
all right,
this is something
yes.
that is becoming rampant throughout society, through movies, through novels, through game playing, through role playing. All of these things are summing up to drive mankind towards self destruction, utilizing, employing, and abusing religion to do so.
All right, let's start with look, you started very heavily on Islam. What were Muhammad's satanic verses? What were they?
Okay, here is the core. Anyone who looks at the world affairs today can clearly see that there is a cancer in Islam that is overrunning the earth. Now, where this came from, this satanic urge in Islam to destroy, to kill, to mutilate, to foment hatred, this is seated in something called the satanic verses. In my estimation, I'm going to trace for you the evolution of Luciferism and Satanism from Islam, seeding itself through heresies in Islam that were transferred then to the Western world through the Templars and the Masons and
No,
the
now you're
Jesuits.
getting ahead of yourself. Let's start basic. What
Okay,
were the
start basic.
satanic verses?
The Satanic Verses is
Yes.
a surah, a chapter in the Quran that is called the Star. And in this, it relates the story of Muhammad in his first years trying to convert Arabia to Islam. He came up against obstructions and resistance. He had a very small following, perhaps 80 to 100 followers at the time, and he was trying to convert Mecca. But Mecca where the Kaaba resides and has resided for thousands of years, was a polytheistic, as we would say today, some would say pagan bastion. The Kaaba was a temple that was involved in commerce and the worship of pagan goddesses, specifically three goddesses named Alat, Uza, and Manat. And
And
traditionally,
these were,
these three
who were they? What were they
these
the goddesses of?
they were the goddesses of Mecca and prevailing goddesses of Arabia, and they were and are traditionally the three daughters of Satan who were thrown out of heaven with him.
All
So
right.
this is what was revealed by Salman Rushdie in the Satanic Verses. This book came out around 1988, and it caused a worldwide stir, conflict, controversy.
It
There
caused
were
them to
bombings.
run away and live in America. This I
Well,
recall.
yeah, but even in America, we were not immune because stores were vandalized. Their and even in Japan, a Japanese translator of the Satanic Verses novel by Salman Rushdie was murdered, horribly murdered, knifed to death and gashed as he was completing the Japanese translation of the Satanic Verses. And then a
A
fatwa was
fatwa
issued.
is a dictate.
Yeah,
Um,
dictate from.
Again, we have to be very, very much slower than you're used to. Okay. Uh,
Okay, all right. A fatwa is an edict,
okay.
a religious order, and uh, Ayatollah Khomeini issued a religious order for the murder of Rushdie, as in the same manner as the Japanese translator was murdered. And so Rushdie had to be protected by British intelligence, and he's lived all these years until recently when the fatwa was lifted. He had to live in a secluded, protected, almost like, the Secret Service. Well, British intelligence was protecting Rushdie for all these decades since the publication of that novel.
Now,
The point
once
is,
again, you said Mohammed's satan. You didn't say Rushdie's satanic verses. You said Mohammed's satanic
that's right.
verses.
That's
Well,
right.
what's the difference here?
The difference is that many people believe that Rushdie chose the title or made up the title of his book. Um, but in fact, the title comes from certain verses, couplets, that are spoken by Muhammad in the Quran. So let me take it up now at the point where he was trying to convert the Quraysh tribe of in Arabia. He was a member of the Bani Hashem Quraysh clan. Okay. Now you
Uh-huh.
also find out from here where David Koresh got his name. David Koresh, who
Dave of Wacko fame?
yeah, he
Oh,
changed his name to David Koresh, and this reveals some of his kind of messianic mania. He took the name of David, the king of the Jews, and he took the name of Koresh, which is the family of Muhammad.
I don't
To
want to get off track, but he
Okay, I'm
went
just
to
telling you this.
Israel and he tried to. You know
Right,
what? I'm not going to. I refuse
right.
to.
Okay,
All
well,
right. Koresh came from the tribe that Mohammed was a member of. Good.
right. Quraysh is the name of the tribe, and they were polytheists. They resisted. So Muhammad was in a deep depression because he was suffering quite a bit of persecution, so much so that a large contingent of his followers had to flee to Abyssinia. And in the course of his quandary, he was very depressed because he was making no progress with the Quraysh tribe because of their adherence and allegiance to the temples of Alat, Uzza, and Manat.
Oh,
And
the
it came,
three goddesses.
yes, yes. So,
Again, we're doing it slowly. All
okay.
right. They accepted them over Allah.
Well, here's the story. They accepted them. There was no Allah before,
All
he
right.
was the
Over the new God.
new God on the block was
Right.
Allah. And the three ancient ones were Alat, Uzza, and Manat. And now these were centers of commerce. The temples were centers of worship, the centers of trade, marketing, and also legalized prostitution. So this was the set way of doing business in that region. When Muhammad came with this new god to supplant everything else, and he was having this resistance, and he was in a quandary, as I said. So he went out into the wilderness, and he claimed that the angel Gabriel appeared to him again and confided in him that it was quite all right to accept these three goddesses, because he was, according to Rushdie's account,
Yeah.
he was disrupting the economy of Mecca by attacking the goddesses and disrupting the commerce and the goings on.
To this
So
day, the Quran has these three women, um, I guess, as demigoddesses.
demigoddess is a good word. He referred to them, figuratively speaking, as in a word in Arabic that means cranes, high flying cranes, but it's also an allusion to angels. So Salman Rushdie translates them as angels. And so in this public meeting, according to Rushdie, Muhammad was under threat of execution by the grandees of Mecca, and they offered him a deal because it was polytheistic, and there were many, many more gods and goddesses.
I can imagine the deal, taking the bras.
Right. So what happened is they said, "Listen, you're very charismatic. You're getting a large following. People like you, but you're really disrupting the entire social fabric of Mecca, and we cannot allow this. If we can make a deal where you will accept these three goddesses, we will overthrow all the others, but let us keep these three goddesses. What do you say?" And in a public hearing, he said that we accept the Uza, Alat, and Manat as three birds of paradise, and
And
we
what does
see.
that mean?
Well,
What are
right.
you accepting as a bird of paradise? I don't get that.
Well, that's their language, and it's an allusion to angels. The bird of paradise is a
Well, angels would be malachi or malachim. In their case, malachot.
yeah, but it's in Arabic, and the word that was used in Arabic is a word for cranes or high flying birds or
Which
winged
is what? Which is
winged
what?
entities. Winged entities.
What's the word in Arabic?
Gariba.
Galila. Okay, that's very, very appropriate. Now they are in the satanic verses as accepted. You
Well,
say
here's
they.
here's what
Okay.
he did. He was made to by he was forced by circumstances and his desire to convert the Quraysh tribe to Islam. He made this public announcement, and he prostrated himself. He bowed down, touched his head to the ground, and recited that prayer to Allah and accepting these three pagan goddesses. And this, so then he was very
So he
happy.
was a politician.
Yes,
He cut a
basically a
deal.
politician. But what happens is that he goes off again into the wilderness, and this time the real angel Gabriel approaches him and he says, "What have you done? You have spoken to the people words that God did not utter and did not tell you to say." Uh, and of course, he was thrown into a tremendous fear of the Lord, as they say, because he realized that he had been tricked and that what he thought had been a revelation from the angel Gabriel was actually Satan. And in fact, the implication of the verses is that when he prostrated himself and uttered those statements, that his tongue was possessed by Satan, and he was.
This is in the verse itself. This is what Gabriel told him. You prostrated yourself before Satan.
No, he didn't say, he didn't mention the prostration, but that's a historical account of what actually happened. But what he says, God or Allah says to him, is that well, listen, we forgive you. I mean, we know that you had great desire, and Satan infused himself into your desire, and thereby infused himself into your tongue to make you utter these blasphemies. But we really care about you, Muhammad, and we're very happy with you, but so we're
Oh,
going
so
to
you're
forgive.
saying in the satanic verses he throws them out?
No, later and later.
Okay,
First, he
okay.
stated it, and the people were happy, right? The Qurayshi, they embraced Islam because they were able then to keep their prior demonic goddesses. But in the aftermath, when Muhammad went out and had the second, third confrontation with Angel Gabriel, Gabriel informed him that he had blasphemed. But then Allah interceded and claimed to him that he forgave him and actually made a rather unusual statement. He said to him that, all the prophets basically are very devoted and uh, inspired men, but, and this is a quote, it said, "Never did we send a messenger or a prophet before thee. When he framed a desire, Satan threw some vanity into his desire, but Allah will
In
cancel
other
any."
words, he got horny. Is this what you're saying?
It may not be
He
that.
wanted the women. All right, what was it then?
Oh well, it's interesting that this partitioning does come, and he mentions this allusion to a schism that would occur, that Allah would surround themselves with females and then leave all the males to Muhammad and his following. So here we have the crux of the matter. This is a point in Islam where one faction of Islam completely embraced Islam along with Satanism, and then the other, which reacted and uh, renounces it. But for 400 years after Muhammad, this was taken to be a historical event. It's part of the Quran and embraced by one or more groups, sects of Islam.
Is it
So
still to this day? Are there sects that accept that you got these great broads from Mecca and they're in our tribe and they are our semi goddesses? Is it still there?
well, it evolved. It
Uh,
evolved over time, and one of the most important evolutions of this happened 300 years after, in 935 A.D. A heretic arose. He's acknowledged and called a heretic. He was a very accomplished Islamic scholar and greatly
Also named
respected.
Mohammed, I believe.
That's right. His name was Muhammad Ash-al-Magani. And
Right.
this was a very little known fellow. I became aware of Ash-al-Magani by studying the work of Professor Joseph Eliash of Oberlin College. Professor Eliash had spent 10 years in Tehran, in Iran, prior to Ayatollah Khomeini's takeover, and he actually escaped and left 3 days before the embassy was taken. He subsequently became a counselor to President Carter during the hostage crisis because of his expertise in the
I
Hadith.
believe Carter failed. It was on Reagan's first day in office they were released.
Yes, but that had to do with the October surprise, where they made
Uh,
a deal, a backdoor deal with Iranians, not to not to come to an
to
agreement.
release them until Reagan became president.
Right, in return for unmentionable things that were being passed under the table to the Iranians,
All
and
right,
which
folks, this is
ultimate.
the
Oh,
October
yeah,
surprise.
right,
Look it up for yourself. All right.
right, the October
Now,
surprise.
what we're saying with Mohammed Ash-Shamagani,
Yes, Ashal-Magani. Now he
yes,
became he was almost a second Muhammad. He arose very quickly and gathered a very large following, and in that growth of his sect, he proclaimed himself God, and he actually became a threat to the standing social order, which was then over 300 years of Islam established in and around Mecca and in Arabia. And so when word got back to the Caliph, so the Caliph and the Imam were like the king and the Pope, right? They ruled the realm. One was a temporal ruler and the other one was the religious ruler. When Ash-al-Magani became a threat to the two positions, they decided to behead him because he was a heretic. But word got back to Ashurbanipal that they were coming for him, and what he did was something truly diabolical. He wrote his teachings, put them down in a manuscript, and dictated Islamic law. But before I go on, I want to tell you what he came to believe. He believed that he had arrived at Godhead, that he had become God or achieved a union with God by always following the opposite of the truth.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I
And
know what
that,
that's leading to already. Okay.
right. And that because, here's the crux of it, because he had achieved Godhead by always following the opposite of the opposite of the truth is a higher cosmic principle than truth. That
Which is what?
Well, in essence, that is a diabolical form of thinking. And furthermore, he went on to say that they believed that they were acting as the shadows of God on earth, and that God brings about creation by doing evil. Right
Oh my goodness.
now,
I know this story. Yeah,
this
okay.
is what this is what nobody else knows until Professor Eliash discovered it during his 10 years of study in the libraries of Tehran. So what he discovered is that Ashurbanipal wrote his teachings in a manuscript, which he dubbed the Book of Religious Obligations.
Wait, where's the old man of the mountain?
Oh, he's coming 100 years after this. I've told you that I'm going to read
Okay,
you where
okay, okay.
each of these thought forms evolved and perverted thinking and went migrating like a virus from one sect to another sect to another sect, and ultimately leading us to where we are today. So Ashurbanipal writes this manuscript, but he knows that if he signs his name Ashurbanipal, it will be burned and destroyed. So what he did is he forged the name of a Sufi saint who had lived 200 years before, and he slipped the manuscript into a library. The caliph and the imam's men came and they decapitated him and his followers and put an end to it. But about 150 years later, this manuscript was found, and it was a forged document, and it was taken to be the work of the Sufi saint and became the basis of Sharia law.
All right, now, folks, I know that was tough on you. It was tough on me too, but we are talking about. In those days, could you really do one crummy manuscript and change the world?
Yes, you could, because there were no printing presses. And that if that manuscript, as it was found, and it was mistaken for the work of a revered Sufi saint, then
Sufi, it became law. I imagine we're now talking Shia Sunni.
yes.
No?
Now let me say something here. The
Okay.
Shia-Sunni divide um, is a schism that was caused by assassination. Right.
That's
The reason.
Hashasham. Okay.
No, that's
I would.
later. These are
That's
the.
later.
That's later. No, the first schism occurred in Islam because Muhammad had always told his three main preachers that
Oh
Islam.
wait, Robert. That bleep 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 means 3 minutes for commercials.
Okay, we can take
We're
a break.
doing good, I think.
Well, it's a
Very
long.
difficult. Very difficult, the history you're telling right now. We'll come back in 3 minutes. You'll plug
Okay.
yourself. I'll plug me. Somewhere at the end, we'll find 5 minutes from my book. And you listened to my show 3 times last week.
Oh, I want to
That's
talk.
quite a compliment.
I want to
Look, we'll
talk
be
about.
back. I'll in 3 minutes. We'll be back. This is Barry Chamish, Robert.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
Hi, folks. We're doing good, I think. Robert is more complicated than I think he understands, but we're getting a rewriting of history. Oh, look, my books are all at Google.com. That's www.lu.com. There's a search box right in my last name, Chamish. Chamish. I believe the book you want, I'll show you why in a second, would be Shabtai Tzvi, Labor Zionism, and the Holocaust. And by the way, Robert, I got a wonderful gift from my Israeli friends, Tova and Bob. I'm going to send you a copy, maybe even tomorrow if it doesn't rain. And my website is barrychamish.com. Go ahead, plug yourself.
Well, I'm not here to plug myself. I'd rather plug you, because I really admire your
No. I know that, and I'm so grateful. But you are my guest, and you're going to plug yourself. Tell people how to get a hold of you.
All right. The easiest way to get hold of me is by Facebook. I have a Facebook page that has an avatar of a dolphin, smiling dolphin, as my friend Scott calls it. And that's the best way to contact me directly. Also, my email, robert.morningstar@gmail.com. That's just my name with a period between it at gmail.com. And if you want to read more esoteric things, The UFO Digest is a very important part of my life. I'm the editor of UFO Digest, and it's much more. It's much more than
Oh,
UFOs.
yeah, but I did lots of UFOs.
Yeah.
Well, I did
Well,
one.
they're all intimately related to this, you know.
I suspect that as well, okay?
See,
But people dismiss us.
the fact that the satanic verse is called the Surah of the Star is very significant, because it says that when the star set, that's when Muhammad received this satanic inspiration. So I believe that UFOs are responsible, or so a phenomenon that we would call UFO is associated with the birth of many religions and the direction and misdirection of mankind in
I would say that from my own experience, we should not stress this right now.
right.
It gets in the way big time. We've
Okay.
got we've got your rewriting or
Right.
re-understanding of Islam.
Hmm.
Let's stay on this.
Okay.
Who
I want
wrote
to
the
stay on
old
the subject
yes? Who
of
wrote the
history.
Old Man of the Mount?
Okay,
Who were the assassins?
The old man of the mountain was a man named Hassan al-Sabeh, and I consider him a very important and significant figure in history because, to my knowledge, he is the first master mind controller in the Western world. Mind control has been known in Asia, in China, Japan, Tibet, India. Buddhism, in particular, is a good vehicle, a very strong vehicle for achieving mind control. But as far as politics and temporal power and the cult of assassins, this is the word assassin comes from the cult of Hassan al-Sabeh and the Hashishim. He was able to convince a following that he was inspired by God, that he was a messenger in the line of Muhammad, and he established a strong fortress on a mountain, hence his name, the Old Man of the Mountain. And he would lure young men into his circle and take them into this beautiful, I would say, gardened
Is it
paradise
still
on earth.
around, by the way? Can we go visit this mountain?
Well, if you got to Iran, because it happened in Persia, you'd have to go there.
Okay.
It is known. I don't think we could go there yet, but Obama's working on
All
it.
right, it exists then.
It does, yes. It's a historical place and a historical personage. He was prevalent around 1050 A.D. Now, I
Right.
said 935 was the time of Ashal-Magani, and then his following grew for a few years. Then he was, as they say, snuffed out. But it wasn't, because he still had secret followers, and this tradition of occultism, mysticism, and political assassination. This sect is steeped in blood, and Hassan was an exponent of this, and so he became
Who
a
was he
terrorist.
getting rid of? Who were the
Anybody,
assassinate? Who were they assassinating?
everybody, and anybody that stood in his way. He was a tyrant, like a warlord. He was literally a warlord, much like ISIS is today. And anyone that rose to pose any threat to him became the target of his Hashishim. Now, the Hashishim were lured into these beautiful paradisical gardens, flowing water, dates and palms, and beautiful women. And then, when the time
Sort of like
came,
Mecca.
well, it's a kind of a model that kind of moves around. However, he would take one of these, subjects, and then direct him to kill somebody. And if he didn't kill him, he couldn't come back into this beautiful heaven on earth that he had established in his fortress on the mountain.
This would be Shiite. You're saying it's Persia, so we're talking
Yes, it would be
Shiite.
Shia. Now let me
Okay.
go back a bit. Let me go back
All
a bit
right.
to the first schism and why it happened. It happened because Muhammad had established basically what we would call a democracy. in Islam. But when the time of his death came, he decided that he wanted to have a lineage, and he wanted to hand over the leadership of Islam to his progeny. But he didn't have a firstborn son. He had a daughter. Her name was Fatima, and she was married. And so he designated her husband and that family to lead Islam. This caused a rebellion from those who had followed him all their lives, expecting themselves to become the leaders of Islam. And to make a long story short, their resolution of this problem of lineage was they resented that he was trying to set up a monarchy, basically, in Islam when it was supposed to be something other.
And the
So
assassins murdered
these
members of his Fatima's family.
That's right.
And
They
that's
murdered
the schism.
Ali, and they murdered Ali and Hassan. And for
I'm
that
doing pretty
reason,
good. I'm all right.
you
I'm doing
are
pretty
you are
good.
quite
All
well
right.
first.
I've got
So
it. So
for this
right
reason,
now, yes.
the Shiites go through a baptism of blood when they're 5 years old. Shia Muslims go through a baptism of blood. The child is taken out, and they take a knife, a blade, a small axe,
Circumcision.
and they hit him on the forehead. They cut it
Oh,
and split it, and the blood starts flowing. And they're supposed to taste their own blood, and they go through a parade, a procession that lasts hours and hours and hours, because at that moment they take the vow to die for Islam and to sacrifice their lives to become martyrs, shaheed, just like Ali. Right? Now, this created the schism in Islam. And this schism created a problem in the Quran, because those who follow Sunnah or Sunni diverge from Shia, and the Shia say they have the real history of what really happened, including the murder of Ali. So, to cover up this crime,
yeah.
the Shias claim that the Sunnis juxtaposed the chapters of the Quran and removed 2 chapters.
Which
So
two? Which two?
the 2 relating to the installment of Ali as the heir of Muhammad. The
Now,
lineage.
Ali went on to lead Shiism. Am I right?
For a little while,
Okay.
they just murdered him after a very short time. And so they had to cover that up. They had to cover up the desire of Muhammad to have a lineage and a leadership that was based on his bloodline. So they had to expunge that. So they removed 2 chapters, and they juxtaposed the others into different positions. And so the Shias accused them of being heretics and of having altered the Quran. And the Shias claim to have 2 more books. They have 26 books in their Quran, where the others have 24. So that is the basis of this ongoing civil war that has been going on in Islam.
Can't you compromise and have 25 and end it?
I don't think they compromise. This is the problem. There is no compromise. The fanatics never compromise. So we go now. Let's jump back to Hassan. So he became a terror in the area, and ultimately he died. But his cult was widespread and was all over. And then comes the time of the persecution of Christian pilgrims who were going to the Holy Land to make their pilgrimage.
Oh, you're talking the Templars now.
Now
Uh,
we're going to get to the Templars now, because the first crusade was to free Jerusalem and make it accessible.
1099, I
Right,
believe.
exactly,
Okay.
1090. And Godfrey de Bouillon and many of the nobles, particularly a lineage of French nobles, arrived, and Godfrey de Bouillon was declared the king of Jerusalem. And apparently there's an esoteric tradition that this king of Jerusalem was designated king because he carried the secret bloodline of Jesus Christ. Okay, this is the Holy Blood, Holy Grail theory of history is based on and steeped in this. So they established
The
themselves.
Grail was what, by the way? A cup?
Well, that's the external, the external symbol. It actually, when you read the tradition of the Holy Grail, It really refers to the womb of Mary Magdalene.
Oh gosh.
Yes,
No, we're not
that's
going to go there.
the
We're not going to go
Holy
there.
Grail. The Holy Grail was the
Well, you
vessel.
can't recover that.
Okay, all right. So we go on. The Templars came and they, let's call it pacified. They pacified Palestine and secured Jerusalem, and for about 100 years. And it fell again after that 100 years or so. But during that time, the Templars became the first bankers. They were the police of the Holy Land. They escorted pilgrims who were making their way to Jerusalem to visit the holy sites.
They
And
also killed a lot of people. If I'm not mistaken, they were mass murderers.
well, a battle is a battle. Every victor
Wow.
of a battle is a mass murderer, if you want to consider that. But in reality, the Crusades were very few battles. Hollywood has made a much bigger bloodbath of it than it really was. And you can find some accurate
You know
render.
what the Horns of Hittim are? I've actually gone there. That's
No,
when
tell me.
that's the mountain, the Galilee that threw out the Crusaders once and for all. Um,
Mhm.
okay, neither here nor there. They were not liked.
Right.
Just,
Well, here's what happened. In this 100 years, when the Templars were in control of Jerusalem, they they intersected with this group and these cults. And there was a transference from the Muslim traditions into the Templars that involved mysticism and Satanism and this view that's kind of like Zoroastrian in a way. The root of it is this eternal battle between God of light and God of darkness, and this idea that God does good works by doing evil. It's a kind of perverse way of thinking, you know?
well,
And so
that's
I
the
believe
Shabtai Tzvi, but that's all the way in the 17th
exactly.
century.
Now,
That's a long ways off.
you're jumping ahead, Barry, but we're on the same train and on the same track. Exactly so. Where did these traditions that are so abominable to the Torah, how did they get into Judaism and Christianity? Because my point today is that all three religions have been perverted by the seeding of these satanic and luciferic impulses in all of them.
You're saying
And
Shabtai Tzvi didn't come up with this on his own?
no, I'm saying that he converted to Islam, as you know is true. He
Well,
became,
after he had a knife to his throat, and
yes, but he did
that's when
live
the
amongst
Jews
he did
abandoned him
live.
mostly.
He did live for years. He did live for years as a Muslim and then reverted. But I believe that when he reverted, he took back with him this really strange, perverse interpretation of Judaism that was not there before he
Well, 80 years later,
apostate.
Jacob Tzvi came and reconverted the Jews to this perversion of Judaism. It didn't go away.
Right. So I'm saying that what I'm exposing is an evil serpent that molts its skin. It sheds its skin, but it's still the same evil serpent moving from the satanic verses to Ashal Magani, to the old man of the mountain, to the Templars, to Sabbatai Sevi, through the
Shabtai
to
Tzvi, and then Freemasonry and the Jesuits are.
exactly so. Exactly so. So this is where we stand. We are faced with an enemy. It's a spirit. It's a spirit. It's an evil idea. Now people say, "Oh, you believe in the devil, that he's real." Yes, he's real, but he's not material. This is what people have to understand. The devil, the evil, Satan, Lucifer, they are thought forms. What am I
Oh, wait a
talking?
minute. Wait, don't
I am
rush
talking.
this point. This is a major point. You're saying there's no divine. You can't put your finger on Lucifer. It's just an idea.
It's an idea that can animate beings. It can possess a brain, a soul, and infuse it with erroneous ideas and evil impulses. The same as Muhammad claimed that he was possessed that he was
An ice cream
possessed.
truck. Okay.
No, that
Now
was
look, we're going back all the way back to mind control. You're saying mind control, in
yeah.
essence, is Luciferianism, right?
The takeover of an individual, the expunging of the individual's identity and his self-determination and his free will. Yes, that is evil. That
You know,
is
more than
sin.
half the Jews of the 17th century, how they got the message, no one know. It was through the Vatican. There was
Mhm.
only one organization that the quotes are from: Iran to Mexico, the Jews threw away their belongings and expected to be transported back to Jerusalem. You had half the Jews going crazy. That
This
would
is
be
what.
my control, right?
Yes, of course, that's mind control. This is what we have to do. You know my work in the Kennedy assassination. My work has been to break people's consciousness of the mind control apparatus that was imposed upon them. The whole illusion of the JFK assassination cover up. That's a mass hallucination under which Americans have
Listen,
been
we could
living.
go and do 9/11.
But
I
no,
mean,
no, that's true.
no, no.
It's all
Okay.
tied. People say conspiracy theories. No, folks. There is one great conspiracy, and all other conspiracies are subsets of that conspiracy. You see,
I'm going to
this
ask
is
you
this
something.
is the history, the false history that we have been fed for at least the last 50 years.
I'm going to ask you something.
Sure.
You're a sane person, right? Now,
Yes, I
9/11 happened, two buildings went down, but then in the afternoon, 5:20 in the afternoon, the owner of Building 7, that would be
yep,
Larry Silverstein, with
yes,
the fire department, decided to bring down the building without a plane. It went down in a perfect explosion, straight down,
right,
obviously because the third plane didn't hit it and there was a
right.
screw up. Why on earth wasn't there an investigation of how a building goes straight down on
Well,
demand?
again, listen, the mass media is controlled, and they
That's
were
right.
able to control the narrative and force. It's really literally like the Wizard of Oz. And the American people are the munchkins. And that's why I say, facetiously and sarcastically, if you believe that Lee Harvey Oswald killed President Kennedy by himself, then, or that the Zapruder film is real, that you are no better off than a bunch of munchkins in Oz.
All right,
It's
let's
mind
go
control.
back. I
Pure.
know what you're saying, and we won't go into Ken. That's a different show, and it's a long
No,
one.
it is the same show. The President Kennedy's assassination was an open air temple, a human sacrifice to Lucifer. Astrologically, astronomically, it was all set up and dressed up in the religious robery of Freemasonry.
All right, folks, this is Robert Morningstar, just so you know, and his website. Once again, I recommend it: morningstarnews.nyc. Now, the final segment, we have 5 minutes. You
Okay.
listened to my show last week 3 times. Now, you tell me why. I've been fighting this. I've been trying to get my people, these are Jews, by the way, to understand what's being done to them. And
Yes.
for some reason, I failed.
No,
Not
you haven't.
totally,
No, no,
no.
not completely. No, there are many Jewish friends of mine with whom I've shared your work, and it's really hard for them to bear it. But the light is dawning on them. They are starting to see how they have been manipulated, how they've been conditioned to be afraid to say no to anything
How
that
they've
has
been
to do.
sacrificed.
And they've been sacrificed. That's what's it moved me. I tell you, Barry, I listened to your show 3 times with John Wells. He's a great interviewer.
Yes, he
You're
was.
a great guest to have because you're both seeking the truth at all times. You're not pulling punches. You're telling the truth as you view it, and the dialogue was amazing. You really drove him a little crazy at times,
Well, he
which
was
was
driving me
enjoyable.
off to the side.
No, but
Let's
it
just
was
say that
really.
I got him back on my track. his
Yes.
track,
Very
a
enjoyable. I tell you, it
look.
was very
The
enjoyable
point
to hear
is,
you expounding on all of these revelations of the criminality of the regime and the exploitation of Jews in general,
I'm worried.
and
I'm
religious
looking.
Jews, and religious Jews in particular. You said it. They hate religious Jews. Listen, folks.
Despise them.
Life is very simple, and life and peace and social order are very simple. You just need one thing, which is the Ten Commandments. And
Well,
everything else that everything that subverts the Ten Commandments, perverts the Ten Commandments, or finds wiggle room to get around the Ten Commandments is evil. That's my take on it. And
look.
this is
If
why I
the
am.
left who don't accept religion were decent, it wouldn't necessarily have to be evil versus evil. What you've got is Sabbatainism. It does
Yes.
go back to Sabbatainism. These people really, really murdered our own people. They were conspirators. And I'm worried because my family is now in Israel that the next Holocaust may be just around the corner.
I've told you my background and my concern, and I do have a great love and respect for all my Jewish friends. But if I've said this to people, my Jewish friends say, "Oh, how can you say anything against Israel?" I say, "Listen, I'm a psychotherapist. If I see somebody who seems to be on the road to suicide, I am morally obliged, obligated to try to intercede and try to warn them and to make them realize that their thought pattern is leading them and others to self-destruction."
You
And
realize
that's
the barriers, and I've come to understand they are convinced that Rabin was murdered by Paris. Everyone's. I gave the speech 300 times. It doesn't matter. If you say it, it could harm security. There's a mentality going on. Well, all right.
well,
Look,
I
folks.
saw, I
Yes,
really admire another one of your lectures, that very long one. I think it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when you did the analysis of the videotape of Rabin's assassin, and you
it was
showed that
actually in Salt Lake City.
oh,
It doesn't matter.
okay, but
It's
the main point is
indisputable, and they
you,
dispute.
you showed how they stretched the guy's arm like 6 feet in the videotape to make
I
it look like he was close to him. That was brilliant. Too bad the soundtrack was so poor, but the content is fantastic. I have never doubted.
I'll send you one with a lot better soundtrack.
I've
That comes
never
with the.
doubted your discovery, your revelation of who killed Yitzhak Rabin, and why it was done. Another thing, the murder of Yitzhak Rabin in a way dovetails with some of the prophecies of the book of Revelation, in which it's prophesied that in the book of Revelation, it's two.
It's. I'm sorry. Those bleeps. And by the way, this would probably end up with some sort of religious discussion, and who needs it right now?
Okay,
Show ended.
okay,
Folks, we're
that's fine.
archived at libertyarchives.com for a week. Same to you, Robert, libertyarchives.com. We're coming back with Joel Scouse in 7 minutes. Thank you, Robert. That was a
My
good one.
pleasure to speak to you. Thank you.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character, as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy, in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the left behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.